Alright guys, I want to apologize in advance for the quality of which this is recorded. I am doing my best. Alright, so looking at the final exam review questions number 3, we are starting with solving an inequality. So what is the solution to the inequality? Just means solve it. What value of h will make it true? So not necessary, you could just add 3 to both sides, but what we are used to is rewriting our subtraction as adding the opposite. So we can see that that is a -3, which we are going to get rid of with adding a +3 to both sides. That cancels out, and then we are left with 11 plus 3, which is h is greater than or equal to 14. All right, so the second one, the -5 is touching the x. That means multiply. So to undo that, we are going to divide both sides by -5. Hopefully you remember that when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, you do have to flip the inequality symbol. So here, x is greater than -5. Now, if you start to doubt yourself on either of these, you can plug your answers back in. So it originally said h minus 3 is greater than or equal to 11. So we can replace h with 14 because that's what we solved for. Minus 3 is greater than or equal to 11. 14 minus 3 is 11. We can do the same thing with number 2. We have -5 times -5 is less than 25, and we have 25 is less than 25. All right. So number 3, what is the solution of x over 5 is greater than -8? Remember, x over 5 just means x divided by 5. So we want to do the inverse. The opposite of dividing by 5 would be to multiply by 5. Since we're multiplying by a +5, we do not flip the symbol, and -8 times 5 is -40. So the solution here would be any value greater than -40. All right, so number 4, we want to write an inequality for the number line. So let's just use x. We have an open circle. That means that it cannot be or equal to. So it's either going to be this or this because it's open. And since we have the numbers that are greater than 8 being shaded, it is x is greater than 8. All right, so number 5, we're going to do it in reverse. We're going to graph x is less than or equal to -2 on the number line. So since it is or equal to, we will have a closed circle. That means that -2 is included with our solution set. We also want to recognize that all values less than -2 are included. So all values greater than or less than -2. So for number 6, we are going to solve, then graph. So once again, we have subtraction. We can rewrite that as plus a negative. So to get rid of 3 negatives, we're going to add 3 positives. We end up with x is less than or equal to, well, -5 plus 3. The signs are different. That means we subtract, and there are more negatives. So -2, we just looked out, hit the lottery, same exact graph. X is less than or equal to -2. Moving on to equations. So here we have some that have variables on both sides. Remember, we want to get the variable on both sides. Well, let's start by saying, is there anything to simplify over here? Nope. No parentheses, so nothing to distribute. And no like terms, so nothing to combine. Same on the other side, but we could rewrite this as plus a -7. That might actually help us in the long run because you'll see next. We will get the variable to the same side. Remember, because we have both a variable and a constant on both sides, it doesn't matter which one we move. But I like to move it to the left just so that way it's more familiar once it's rewritten. So to get rid of 3x, we're going to add a -3x because we're just moving the term. The reason I like to put the -7 is so I realize that that comes down together, whereas if you just cross out 3x, you might bring down the 7 and not realize that the minus makes the value behind it negative. All right, so we have 4x plus -3x, or 4x minus 3x. It's just x. If you had a 1 in front of it, that's fine. But it's not going to change anything, so we won't need to divide by it since it's just a 1. So now we have a one-step equation. We have plus 2. The opposite of adding 2 would be adding negative 2. So we end up with x equals negative 9. All right, last one is very similar, but it's going to end up being a two-step equation after that, moving the variable to the same side, unlike here, where because we had a 1x, it just made it one step. So I'm going to add negative 4x to both sides after rewriting that as adding the opposite. So we're going to add negative 4x, add negative 4x, and that gives us 4x plus 10 equals negative 18. So you can see here that now we have a two-step equation. So we're going to get rid of the addition first. So the opposite of plus 10 is to add negative 10 to both sides. I'm going too fast. Remember that you can always pause, rewind, replay as many times as you need. So negative 18 plus negative 10, well, the signs are the same. So we add and keep the sign. And now we have a one-step equation, 4 times x. Remember, we're trying to figure out what x is before it was multiplied by 4, so we do the inverse. So we're going to divide by 4 on both sides, giving us x equals negative 7. All right, let's move on to the back. All right, so looking at angle relationships, so complementary angles. In case you don't remember, I gave you that trick where you can turn the C into a 9, so it looks like 90 in the complementary. So remember, the complementary angles have a sum. They add up to 90 degrees, whereas supplementary angles have a sum of 180 degrees. And remember that when they're side by side, it forms a half rotation or a straight line. So you can identify it by looking at it. All right, so we're going to use this picture here to answer the question. So what's the relationship between angles 2 and 4? Well, they are opposite sides of the vertex. So you could literally see that they are mirror images of each other. They are called vertical angles. Oops, that should have gone right here. The relationship's vertical, but the measurement of these is congruent. Vertical angles are equal. We'll do better on the next one. All right, so now we're looking at angles 1 and 2. They're side by side. They form a straight line or a half circle. So these are supplementary. And supplementary angles form a half circle or a straight line, which means that they are 180 degrees. All right, guys, we're almost there. This is all review, so that means that we've learned all of this, meaning you have notes on all of this. Okay, so sorry I'm kind of cutting this off, but you have the paper in front of you, so that shouldn't make much of a difference. All right, so your parents took your family out to dinner, and your parents want to give the waiter a 15% tip. If the total amount for dinner was $42, what should be paid to the waiter as a tip? So you have two ways of doing this. You can set up a proportion. Remember, percent, the 15% is always out of 100. That's what percent means. Percent means out of 100. So we want to know out of the original 100%, so we put the whole value of the meal next to the 100%. We want to know what the portion that is 15% is. That's what we are solving for. All right, so we're going to cross multiply. So 100 times x is 100x. Remember, we're going diagonally. And then 15 times 42 is 630. All right, so now to isolate x, we will divide both sides by 100, giving us x equals 6.3. But remember, we're leaving money. So 6.3 as money would be $6.30. The alternate method, so if you want to pause and write that down, I'm about to move it over. The alternate method would just be to multiply the total by the percent. So 42 times 15%. But remember, you can't multiply by percents, so we have to convert it to a decimal first. So 15%, move the decimal twice to the left. That would give us 0.15. Also, you could have just divided by 100. And if you multiply 42 times 1500ths, it will also give you 6.3, which would be $6.30. All right, so the next one is talking about discount. Okay, so we got a suede jacket. It's on sale, it's 20% off. It was $250, so how much are we going to save? Once again, percent always goes over 100. So 20% of the whole is like we're trying to figure out how much is 20% of the whole $250. So we are going to cross multiply. So 100x equals 250 times 20. Well, 25 times 2 is 50, and add the 2 extra zeros, or just use a calculator. Solve for x. We will divide, and x equals 50. So if you were to buy this jacket, you would be saving $50 if it was on sale with a 20% off discount. Other option is the same as tax and tip. You can just do 250 times 20%, which will convert the 20% to a decimal, which would be 0.2. That will also give you $50. Very last problem, we have commission. Now, we didn't talk about this a lot in class. The process is the same as tax and tip and discount, but commission is what people make for selling items for a company. So usually the best example here would be a car salesman. They like to push the cars because they get a portion of the sales. So they get what's called commission. So here, say they were to have sold $125,650 worth of cars. We're going to figure out if they got 6% commission, how much money they would walk away with. Now, not important here, but just real life important. They do not usually work just for commission. They usually have a paycheck, a salary, and they get commission on top of their hourly or salary wage. All right, so it's set up the same way. 6%, so 6 over 100. We're trying to figure out what is 6% of the 100% original 125,650. We're going to cross multiply. 100 times x is 100x. 6 times that, let me consult my calculator. 125, 6 times 0. Oh, big number. 7, 5, 3, 9, 0, 0. All right, so if we divide by 100, that ends up giving us 7,539. So as in money, $7,539. That is a good deal. You're selling cars, they're pretty expensive each. If you got 6% each, which I think is probably high for real life, I don't know, I've never sold cars. That's a really good deal. No wonder they're pushing cars and trying not to give you too many deals. All right. Shortcut is to multiply the total value by the percentage. And 6% as a decimal will be 0.06. Remember, move it twice to the left, you'd have to put in a 0 placeholder, or just do 6 divided by 100, and that'll pop up on the calculator. Regardless, you will also get the same exact amount because these two methods lead you to the same answer. Please study. Be ready. This is the last thing that can affect your grade for the year. Good luck.